York, 1 in every 3 pregnancies ends in abortion, according to Sam Sawyer, the executive editor and director of American Media, where they are very pro-life. And because of the new law that New York just passed, these abortions may go up in numbers. There are several things that this law does and doesn't do, and there are several risks of getting these abortions and several procedures to getting said abortions. These late-term abortions have been illegal for so long. However, New York just passed a law that has legalized these late-term abortions, which is absolutely horrible, and aborting babies so late should be illegal. New York already has the highest rate of abortions in the country, so access to these abortions are no problem. However, since these numbers are so big, it almost seems as though women feel that they have no other option. This may be due to the high cost of living in New York. So, by allowing abortions up until the point of birth, kind of gives women an extra option to opt out of having the baby last minute. And there are 3 things that this law can do under 3 conditions. It has to be performed earlier than 24 weeks. There is a quote-unquote absence of fetal viability, meaning that the baby would not be able to survive outside of the womb, or to keep the mom healthy. These are all to be determined by a practitioner and from the mother's health, but the mother's health could pretty much cover any late-term abortion. Granted that about 1% of these late-term abortions are only performed, the mother's health could pretty much trump any of that. So some doctors will perform them whether the mother is in good standing health or is in poor health. While most doctors perform these abortions, they can be done by non-physicians as long as they are authorized, licensed, or certified. Since these abortions are performed so late, the question of isn't that homicide may arise. But according to New York law, the homicides are defined as a person who is born and alive. So as long as the baby hasn't been fully born yet, the abortion is perfectly legal. But before this law, homicide was defined as killing someone or a baby was in the womb for more than 24 weeks. But since late-term abortion is now legal, these laws no longer see this baby as a human person. Once the baby is born, the law sees them as a person. However, this law does not include when the baby is born during the abortion. So one may understand this as the abortion may continue if the baby is born. That section was repealed. At the end of the article, Sawyer makes a great quote. It says, "I live in a city where for every 2 mothers whose pregnancy filled them with joy, 1 woman has turned instead to abortion. That's not just because New York protects the right to abortion. It's also because we failed to present a better option, and the RHA has doubled down on that failure." Well, abortion and this new law sounds absolutely terrible. Planned Parenthood has a say on it. Most people may think of Planned Parenthood when it comes to abortions. This is because they really do perform them, and one of their most popular methods of abortion is the in-clinic abortion. And they define this as works by using suction to take a pregnancy out of your uterus. See, the first problem with this statement is they use pregnancy instead of baby. They can't really even recognize that this is a human person. So, for this procedure, there's about 2 options. They can either take the pregnancy out with gentle suction or the vacuum. And the second option would be to use the DNE, which is the dilation and evacuation, which is used with suction and medical tools. As one may observe, this sounds completely awful. But Planned Parenthood makes no mention of side effects. There are several side effects to having an abortion, some of them more serious than others. According to the American Pregnancy Association, a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting reproductive and pregnancy health. The common side effects of abortion may be abdominal pain, cramping, nausea, and vomiting. The more serious side effects may include infection, damage to the cervix, damage to other organs, or even death. The most severe side effects may include a fever above 100.4 or continuing signs of pregnancy. One may observe that none of this really sounds appealing. While women's choices may lead to these side effects, there may be something we can do to help. We can either let them know that there is another option, and that pro-lifers don't actually hate them. First, we need to let them know that there is another option, and this could be adoption, because there could be some parents out there who are wanting to adopt children because they either can't have their own kids or they just want to adopt. Secondly, they need to know that those who are pro-life are still love them. Just because pro-lifers are against abortion doesn't mean that we can't love these women any less, because nothing was ever really solved with hate. We need to love them no matter what they choose, because they will still always have God's love and forgiveness. There's one Bible verse that could be very fitting for this situation, and it comes from 1 Peter 4, verse 8. Above all, love each other deeply, for love covers a multitude of sins. By spreading God's word in love, we could show these women facing this hard choice that it's okay to not have an abortion because there are people who care for them. It's important to show these women that they are loved because the actual abortion could actually be pretty gruesome. The American Pregnancy Association states that there are 3 trimesters, all with very different procedures. The first procedure includes the pill, which is taken usually 7 to 9 weeks during pregnancy, and the MVA, which is the manual vacuum aspiration, which usually happens between 3 to 12 weeks of pregnancy. As you can see here, this is about 9 weeks of pregnancy. This is about how big the baby is, and that's just to give you a visual of what they are aborting. The second method uses the dial-in surrogate, which is suction tools or a vacuum. In rare cases, they will inject the baby with salt water or potassium chloride. This usually happens at about 16 weeks. In about 16 weeks, this is how big the baby is, comparable to an avocado. So the third term, which is the new law that New York just passed, uses induction, which is again injecting the baby with salt water or potassium chloride for a partial birth. You can see here, this is what they would be aborting. The second, to explain this partial birth, 2 days before this abortion, the woman will come in and laminaria will be injected into the cervix, and the third day her waddle will break and she'll come into the clinic for the partial birth. So to quote the American Pregnancy Association on how this abortion works, a small incision is made at the base of the skull to allow a suction catheter inside. The catheter removes the cerebral material, or the brain, until the skull slowly collapses. The fetus is then completely removed. Keep in mind that New York thinks that this abortion is okay. While these methods may sound insane, there may be something that we can actually do. There are a few things to help prevent abortions. We may be able to attend pro-life rallies. One of the largest ones of these is the March for Life, which attracts thousands of people to stand up for those who do not have a voice. The main goal of this rally is to show that it is possible to love both the mom and the baby, and that we care for their choice. The second way to help prevent abortions would be to always show love. By doing so, we could show these mothers who feel like abortion is the only option to make them realize that there is actually life inside them. With just these 2 small steps, thousands, if not millions, of lives could be saved because they do not have their own voice to speak. New York has just passed a law on late-term abortion, which is absolutely horrible, and aborting babies so late should be illegal. There are several things that this law does and doesn't do, and many risks to getting them and many procedures to performing said abortions. To quote former President Ronald Reagan, "I've noticed that everyone who is for abortion has already been born."
Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause. Thank you, Corinna.